So specific resources that are scheduled for use on specific activities or project at specific times. And in this table I have an example. This is an example from your textbook, and basically this project was, the objective of this project was to produce a DVD. So we have a couple of resources that are available to perform this project, and we have the information in terms of the availability, for instance, of the script writer and the producer. So we have their availability per day, and also we have the cost in terms of the salary. So for the script writer, it's $75 an hour, and overtime is $100 an hour, and it is available for 192 hours. And we have the same information for the producer, which is $100 an hour, overtime cost, and the availability. So that's the information you're going to need to be able to decide when and for how long you're going to need each one of the resources. So if you remember from our discussion on Microsoft Project, you can develop your Gantt chart, and also you can start assigning some of those resources to each one of the tasks. So that's basically the idea when you're loading your resources. Now we have a different topic, which is allocating scarce resources to projects. And there are some rules that you can use to assign these resources. It will depend on the strategy that is used by the company. And here are several examples, some of the priority rules. The first one is what we call as soon as possible. In here, the activities are scheduled to start on their earliest start times, and resources are made available with that in mind. So you're gonna start trying to put those resources or schedule those resources as early as possible. You're not gonna delay, even though if you have some lead time, you're gonna start to make those activities completed as soon as possible. Then we have another priority rule that is called, which is the opposite, as late as possible. And in this one, the resources are made available so that activity starts on their latest start time. And again, this is the notation that we were using in our networks, if you remember, without increasing the project duration. This preserves the firm's resources and delays cash outflows as long as possible. The third priority rule is called shortest task duration first. So in this rule, maximize the number of tasks that can be completed by a system in a given time period. So if you are able to address those tasks that are shortened, then you might end up putting more tasks into your schedule in a very limited time. So that kind of makes sense, right? The next one is called the minimum slack first. And here, tasks are supplied with resources in inverse order of their slabs. So you're going to look at those tasks that have a minimum slack, and you're going to try to address those early as possible. The next one is called most critical followers. In here, the number of successors on the critical path or paths for each activity is counted. So you're going to look at the number of predecessors and the activities with a higher number of critical successors take precedence, and the idea here is that such activities will cause the greatest damage. To the project schedule. And that will be in terms of the duration of the project. If they are late. So you want to address those activities that will basically have a lot of predecessors. Because if that activity is delayed, then there will be some of the activities that will also be delayed. Then we have the Mast Successors. Which is basically the same as the previous rule, except that all successors are countered. And this rule saying that, or basically follows the same ideas as preceding rule. And the last one is called the most resource first. So most resources first. And with this rule, the greater the use of a specific resource on the task, the higher the task priority for the resource. So if you have a resource that is going to be used or it's going to be helping in multiple tasks, then that resource will have a higher priority for that task in which it will be staying longer. So those are some of the priority rules that you can use to assign resources that are requested by multiple tasks in your project. And that basically concludes the lecture on this topic, which is allocating resources to the project. And these are the topics that we covered in this lecture. Any questions? Okay, so this is going to be the second part of the material that will be covered on your third partial. Now we're gonna have the rest of the time for today to work on our case study.